Hello, everyone, and welcome to Feminine Finance with Mia James. I'm Mia James. I'm trying out something new, so let me know how this looks on your end. I am not quite sure how this is panning out, but hopefully you can hear me okay. You can see me okay. Let's see. I'm trying to change up something. Oh, then I get small. I see. Okay. Sometimes you got to play around with things to see how it works. Welcome in, everyone. Hi, Natasha. Sending you all the love and hugs, sis. How was your day? Well, I am excited this is actually one of my favorite topics to talk about. So, if you're new here and this is your first time ever watching one of my videos, I'm Mia James, your financial wellness coach and financial concierge. And tonight I want to talk about work optional lifestyle planning. Why do I call it work optional lifestyle? Hey, Jen. Well, the reason why is because, a lot of us are love what we do and we're very passionate about what we do. And however, we choose to at one point stop exchanging time for money. And so I want to make sure that we are all well equipped to have that work optional lifestyle. And I'm going to be using like two screens just so I can see properly. But there's three things that I want to cover tonight. So if you know someone who can benefit from tonight's call, who may be about to retire, is thinking about retirement, or even if you want to talk about, get ready for your retirement or work optional lifestyle, then please share because this is going to be there. Hey, Chelsea. Okay, I see that you're on, but I see because I saw the text come through. So hopefully you can join in the chat as well. So you know what? I want to kick it off with some questions. Does anybody have any questions about retirement that they want to drop for me in the chat? Anything that you're thinking about? Listen, Jen, me too. Me too. Me and my husband talk about it every day. We literally talked about it like 10 minutes ago while we were eating dinner. So, tonight, this is what we're talking about. I'm looking at my other screen now because we're gonna make sure we hit all of these topics. I want to talk to us about how to calculate how much you need to acquire to be ready for retirement. Hey, Juanita, so happy you could join us tonight. And Juanita is probably our resident expert, y'all, because she's already retired. So that's what's up. Juanita, you have any tips you want to drop in the chat for people when they're thinking about retirement readiness? And then for everyone else in the audience, what are some things that you've learned along the way that have helped prepare you for your work optional lifestyle? So we're going to talk about how to calculate how much you need in retirement, because retirement is not about age. It's really about, do you have enough money? That's really what it comes down to. And most people are living 20 plus years in retirement. My husband just got back from the grocery store and he was just saying how he heard two, older couples talking about how, oh, I've been retired for 20 years and I've been retired for 14 years. So right now, if you're not driving, I want you to calculate your current annual expenses. So to make this simple, let's say your annual expenses are $5,000 a month right now. Multiply that by 12, that's $60,000. And then multiply that by 20 years, right? Because you got to be able to live off of your savings, right, and investments for 20 plus years. And of course, you can have passive recurring income streams. So we don't want to discount that. But, let's just say you're closer to retirement than not, and you have to live off the money that you have. So if we take 60,000 times 20 years, that's 1.2 million. Yep, exactly, Jen. Imagine 20 years of retirement. So let me know in the chat how much ideally, let's say you had to live for 20 years, how much ideally would you want to have for 20 years? Yes, that's exactly right, Natasha. So Natasha learned that most people don't have enough for retirement. Exactly. So here's some startling statistics. Number one, by the age of 65, which is kind of standard retirement age, but sometimes people say 65, some 67, 72, depending on when you're trying to collect Social Security, because there's different points along the way, of course. So, with that being said, let's say 65. Does anybody know? Let me know in the chat. How much do you think the average 65-year-old already has saved by the time they hit 65? Look, Juanita is in agreement. She is our resident expert here. She is already living the dream. Okay. So, you have to make sure you have additional streams of income, right? It doesn't stop once we stop working, right? We want to make sure we have income coming in from multiple sources, because one thing we know for certain, two things we know for sure is that one, we don't have to pay taxes, right? And taxes continue to go up. And two, costs continue to go up. So because we might be able to live on $5,000 today, but let's say you retire 10, 20 years from now, that $5,000 today is not the same as $5,000 10, 20 years from now. So here's a couple of things I want us to think about when you're thinking about your retirement lifestyle. One, you got to think about obviously your housing costs. So let me see if I can easily just share a slide with you, because of course I have all these things as presentations, but I'm not going to go through a presentation because this is conversational. These are some things you want to think about. So let's see, and I'm not going to put it in slideshow mode because that's going to be very complicated to do in StreamYard. But here we go. So we're going to share screen. And I just want to show you this one thing. Let's see here. Window. Okay. So let's look at this together. So this is a retirement strategy system, so to speak. Okay. I didn't create this myself. I got this from Mass Mutual, but this is very relevant. So the first thing you got to do, if you come over here and you look at your lifestyle costs, right? So you got to think about what are your necessary expenses. So that's your housing, food, healthcare, and other. And most people do not realize that healthcare is actually one of the most expensive things that people have to deal with in retirement, because you no longer have that subsidized medical plan unless you come from a company that has lifetime medical benefits. Okay, I know that is a thing. So if you have that, God bless you, because that is a blessing. Now, if you don't have lifetime medical benefits, because this is important for you to find out now, what are your options? Is it Medicaid, Medicare, Cobra, private healthcare plan? And how much is that going to change your spending plan? So now you have your necessary expenses every month. So thank y'all for sharing. So I love it. So Jen says $8K a month. Get it, Jen. Yes, Natasha, 10 million. That's my number too, Natasha. $10 million for retirement. Exactly. Because you know what? Even if I don't use it all, I can leave a legacy for my nieces and nephews. So the next thing you also want to think about, so Natasha already started that conversation, is discretionary expenses. So how much do you want to spend on travel, hobbies, and other things, right? You don't just want to have money prepared just for your necessities, right? Exactly, Natasha. Yes, we want to make sure we travel. We want to enjoy retirement, right? Because you might retire at 50. Because again, like I said, retirement is no longer about an age. It's about actually having enough savings and investments and passive income, right? Or some type of recurring revenue that can sustain you for 20 plus years, depending on how long you live in retirement. If you retire, like I have an aunt, she retired at like 50, 45, 50, somewhere really early. And she's been living great because she did all her investments properly. So excellent, Jen. I love it. So you have to know what your minimum is, right? So go ahead and write down, like, ideally, how much per month would you want to have for your necessary expenses and your discretionary expenses. Then you want to multiply that number by 12 and then multiply that by 20. So I gave the example earlier. If you just joined, welcome in. You want to, if you need, say, let's go with Jen's example, $8,000 a month. So we need $8,000 a month minimum times 12. That's $96,000. And if you live 20 years in retirement, so you multiply that by 20, that's 1.920,000 to 1.9 million, so to speak. So that is your goal, is to either you have that in multiple accounts, or you have income, some kind of recurring revenue, and a combination of things that is going to help you get there. All right, so let's keep it moving. So the next thing is you want to start figuring out what are your income sources. So our resident expert here, Miss Juanita, has already told us you got to have multiple streams of income. It doesn't stop in retirement. So where are your retirement funds coming from? Is it Social Security? Is it a pension? Is it income annuities, stocks, bonds, cash, other? Okay, very good, Jen. And I love it. I love it when you got your numbers. Anybody else have some numbers they want to share? Okay. So we're going to stop sharing on this one and we're going to move on. Any questions? Let me know in the chat if you have any questions on your retirement number. And this number can change over time, right? Because a lot of people pay off their mortgages by the time they retire. You might not even need to purchase a new car, or you might, because sometimes people like wait until they retire and they get a brand new car, right? So think about those things. Okay, yes, Natasha, I love it. But we know you're going for 10 million, Natasha. Let's just be clear. Let's be going for the 10, okay? Let's go for the gusto. All right. So we have our calculations. I hope that was pretty straightforward. I didn't see any questions in the chat, so that is great. So now let's talk about ways to prepare. So first and foremost, the one thing you got to understand, and I talked about this, I believe, in another live, is you have to understand your taxes, right? How to retire without heavy tax burdens. So our country essentially is like 401k, 401k, 403b, 403b, right? Why? It lowers your tax liability today. But as I mentioned earlier, we know historically taxes have not gone down. So you pay into this 401k, 403b, maybe you put in 500 a month from your paycheck, right? Well, that 500 a month, what if it grows to 500,000? Now you're taking out 100 grand a year at God knows what tax bracket, and you think you're saving money, but you're actually paying more because you're not paying taxes on the 500 you put in. You're paying taxes on the 5,000 that you took out every month or whatever have you. So you want to think about tax diversification strategies in your retirement. So just in case you're not familiar with this, I just want to make it super simple. 3 tax buckets. One is tax deferred. That's your 401ks, 403bs, right? So basically you put the money in, you pay taxes on it when you withdraw. Tax bucket 2, tax as earned, right? So that is your stocks and bonds, right? So capital gains taxes, basically. Real estate. Your savings accounts, right? Because you get interest on those. So those are things that are taxed like as earned. And then 3 is tax advantaged. Okay. And these are things, so there's 3 buckets for tax advantage, or 3 different types of avenues that are tax advantaged. One is a Roth IRA because you pay taxes today based on your current tax rate. 2 is municipal government bonds, right? And 3 is cash value life insurance. So most people have their retirement funds in tax deferred. And he already told you what happens with that. And maybe next time, depending on how much time I have before I get through everything, I might actually show y'all some illustrations on that because I have this really cool calculator, and y'all know I'm a nerd. So I might have to show y'all some of that stuff. So any questions on the tax buckets before I keep going? Let me know in the chat. It's pretty straightforward. 3 tax buckets. Tax deferred, when you pay taxes when you withdraw, taxes earned, and then tax advantaged. Okay. All right. I think we got that. So in terms of ways to prepare before you hit 59 and a half, obviously you have your accounts at work, but you can also set up your own traditional IRAs, Roth IRAs, all, on your own. You can set up your own pension plans. So if you do currently have retirement funds and you want to know what to do with them, you can definitely reach out to me And I'll put my website. Let's see, what's the best way to do that? I'm going to put my link in the chat if you want to do a one-on-one. And if you want to learn how to set up your own pension, that is definitely something that I can support you with. So I'm just going to grab that link. I didn't have it ready because I was so focused on making sure I had the content for y'all. So if you're here tonight, you'll be able to get that link in the chat. But if not, you can always reach out to me through DM, or most of y'all know my number. So you can always reach out to me and I'll help you out. And so you want to have a systematic way that you're saving for your retirement, whether it's through an employer or through your own self-directed retirement funds, which you can totally do. However, in addition, I would say is that you want to diversify the taxes on your accounts, and you also want to have multiple streams of income, right? And the biggest thing that I know people are talking about is making sure you have something that's bringing in recurring revenue, like something every month I'm going to get X amount. Okay, so that's something that you want to explore, because some people do it through real estate investment, some people do it through dividend stocks, stocks that pay dividends, I should say. So there's many different ways, or even if you have a business that has a subscription model, for example, that way how much you're going to be bringing in every month consistently, right? And of course, sometimes it fluctuates, things happen, and that's why we have an emergency fund for that. So, the other thing is, if you plan to retire before 59 and a half, the thing is you can't just have traditional Roth IRAs, because if all of your money is in a designated retirement account and you retire before 59 and a half and you go to touch that money, you will be penalized. So you may want to consider things like cash value life insurance, stocks and bonds, and other types of income, because that way you'll be able to access the money before 59 and a half and be able to retire at the age that you so desire, and when you have the money saved up. So that's something important to be aware of. And if you are already 59 and a half, or you have any old retirement accounts, anybody got any old retirement accounts that you left at your employer that you haven't done anything with yet? Anybody? You can let me know in the chat. So if you're already 59 and a half and you want to create your own pension, meaning you want to create guaranteed lifetime income, many companies will allow you to do what's called an in-service rollover. And you have to find out, not all companies do, but many do. I've been working on these, like, literally, that's my whole life right now, in-service rollovers and helping people create pensions. So if that is the case, so it depends on what kind of dividends, and where the dividends are coming from. But yes, Miss Juanita, we can definitely talk about it. Great question. So if you do have a old 401k, 403b from an old employer, you can find out if you can actually roll it over, and either if you're under 59 and a half or you're not ready to retire yet, you can basically put it in an account that grows and accumulates over time without losing the principal that you put in. Or if you're at retirement age, you can go ahead and create that and make that into a pension. Yep, you can definitely do a contract exchange, Jen. And if you need support with that, let me know. That's what I do day in and day out. So, any questions about that so far? So, just going back to Miss Juanita's question about dividends. So dividends come from different things, right? You can have dividends that are paid to you from stocks or REITs, which is a real estate investment trust, various ways, right? And so you can either choose to reinvest the dividends, or you can take the dividends and do something with them. So, like, someone that I know, they actually pull out a certain amount of dividends per month to pay for certain bills. So there's so many things that you can do there. And that's why, everyone's situation is so different. So that's why I always say, let's meet, let's talk about it. So in terms of protecting your wealth, there are ways. I know the stock market right now is going up and down, up and down. And I believe in a diversified portfolio. So one key thing you have to understand is your risk tolerance. So, how comfortable are you with having some money in the market, right? And then also, is there a portion of your funds that you want to have protected against market loss? Because, there's ways to create insurance, right, around your money. Not, you may not want to protect all of it, because again, the higher the risk, the higher the reward, right? So if everything is conservative, you won't capture as much growth. So that's important to know too. So I have said a mouthful. So I want to know in the chat if anyone has any questions. And then if not, I'm going to show you my special calculator that I like to share. All right, let's see if I can pull it up fast, because I love this thing. It shows you about taxes. Okay, so we're going to do a quick tax scenario. And I would like to know, I'm going to let y'all pick the numbers. Okay, so hang tight while I pull it up. Let's see. I can never remember the exact title of it, but we're gonna, here it is. Bam. I love when things work out. Okay, here we go. Now I just need to share the screen with y'all, and we're on our way. All right, so we're presenting. Okay, so I think you all can see it. It's coming. There it is. Okay, so this is what I went over earlier when I talked about the different tax buckets, right? So paying income tax on distributions. These are things that we're very familiar with. Paying capital gains taxes on distribution. Again, things we're all familiar with. And then tax-free distributions, right? Who knew that you can have tax-free distributions? All right, so now let's see, what number do we have? Okay, so Natasha says she needs 5 million. Oh, let's see if anybody put an annual number in here. So Jen has said 8K a month. So 8K a month. Let me go back to my calculator. So times 12. That's $96,000, right? All right. So let's say this is your desired annual amount that you need to pull out. So we'll just leave these numbers as is, just for example purposes. And this right here, this, federal income tax, say that's your tax bracket, your state income. Some of us don't have state income taxes, so that's really amazing. But for the most part, we do have capital gain taxes. That's for things like stocks and bonds. So let's just say that you have 75% of your portfolio. We have to change the numbers. I'll change them here in a second. Let's get that down to 10. So there we go. So 15. Okay. So let's say you have most of your retirement. This is most of the the country, most of their retirement in income taxable sources, right? So income taxable meaning 401k, pension, traditional IRA, right? 75%. Then you may have some stocks and bonds here, mutual funds or things like that. And then over here, let's just say you have 10%, like maybe you have a Roth IRA. So if we do the calculation and you look over here, if you took money from each of your sources and you wanted to come out with 96,000, your effective tax rate is 25.5. So that just means that you would actually have to take out 25.5% more to actually yield $96,000 in desired outcome. So that's important for us to understand why the tax conversation is so important when it comes to work optional lifestyle planning. So basically, from your income taxable source, so say you took a majority of this money from your 401k or 403b, 72,000. After taxes, it would actually yield you 50,400. With the capital gains taxes, so say you took 14,400 out of your brokerage account. Okay. Now you sold some stocks that yielded you 11,520. But let's say you took 9,600 out of your insurance, your cash value insurance, out of the cash value from your insurance. Guess what? You take out 9,600, you get 9,600. But let's say we flip this script. Let's flip it, y'all. Let's flip it. All right. So let's say we did 75 over here and 10 over there. Now we have lowered our tax all the way down to 6%, y'all, by flipping how we actually allocate our pre-retirement funds. So now, of course, you can have a mix of all of this. It may not be as heavily skewed on one side, but I just wanted you to see how where you place your money does make a big difference in terms of when you get ready to withdraw it, how it will impact your bottom line. Because, I always tell my clients, like, hey, even though I'm telling you you're going to get X amount every year, remember, you're going to get taxed on that money. So it's not exactly that amount that you're going to get. And I always like people to really understand what's happening. So that is actually all that I have for you all tonight. Any questions? I don't see any questions in the chat today. I guess I was pretty clear. You are most welcome, Miss Natasha. Yes, this is the tax part is like really the key, right? Like where are you putting your money? Because a lot of people are, they pull from their savings or they start selling stocks and then they realize like, wait a minute, I pulled out 10 grand, but I really only got like 8.5, Awesome. Thank you, Miss Juanita. So again, if you need anything, feel free to reach out to me. Also, you can just always go to my website, beyondthebusyness.com, and in the upper right-hand corner, there's my calendar link as well. Or you can actually text. If you don't get the reminders, you can send a text to 855-718-2018 and just text I'm in, and you'll get the reminders for this weekly YouTube. And so next month is Mental Health Awareness Month. So if there's anything you want me to cover during Mental Health Awareness Month, let me know. But I believe that we are going to be starting a book club around this book here, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. So I'll send this out via text. So if you don't have the book already, we're just going to be reading through this book. I know many of us already have it. And this way we can really start to hone in on the feminine aspect of building our wealth and what does it look like based on some of the teachings of Dr. Boyce Watkins. So if you don't know him, he's a finance PhD and he is amazing. He is a great teacher. So we will read the book together next month, or I'll read it to you. I'll pretend like how he does, and then we can chat it up. Oh, that's a great question, Jen. Yes, I actually prefer to be taxed now because taxes have historically gone up. So I prefer to be taxed now. Now, I have also enrolled in the class on paying zero taxes, and I'm pretty good at not paying too much taxes. I do pay them, of course. So, as a business owner, you have a lot of advantages, and it really does pay to have a tax strategist. I have a tax strategist to help me as a business owner make legal choices on my taxes so that I pay less taxes. And so I do really great with my taxes, to be honest, because of my business. And I, do it all legitimately based on tax code. Yes, Angeline. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yay. So Jen already has her copy. I'm sure Natasha and Chelsea do as well. So if I'll send that out in the text too, just in case anybody needs it. But I'll let y'all know when we start. But again, let me know if you can always just text me and let me know if there's anything you want to cover for money and mental health, because I will be doing that at the beginning of the month, because I think it's so important to address your money mindset. Dr. Boyce calls it economic consciousness. And, I'm all about feminine finance. And so I want us to connect our intentions to our hearts and do value based spending and make decisions based on our values and what's important to us. So thanks for joining me tonight. I know many of us will be heading on over to Dr. Boyce's Powernomics training. And so I'll see you all next week. Have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your night. Thanks, Jen. Good night. Thanks for coming, everyone. Good to see you, Anita.